This is a book that I read as a young boy. I signed it out of the school library on multiple occasions and each time read it cover to cover. It is called Who Goes Next, written by Robert Edmund Alter. And I had a very difficult time locating a copy of this over the past few years. But this is a book of true stories of exciting escapes. Let me just read you the foreword. Who Goes Next? True stories of exciting escapes. Of all creatures, man is the most difficult to keep caged. There is no textbook on escape, yet every prison, no matter how escape-proof it has claimed to be, has lost some of its unwilling guests. Here are 12 true tales of men whose ingenuity and determination would not permit them to languish in confinement. Some were famous, some not. Some imprisoned justly, some unjustly. But all had that extra measure of human dignity that would not accept chains. So here you can see some of the artwork. And here you can see the 12 stories. My apologies, the 11 stories. So we're going to read the prologue here. Robert Burns' quotation says, "Since man invented prisons and slavery, the prisons and the slaves have always managed to escape, regardless of the price of failure. The battle has gone on for thousands of years. It will go on for thousands of years to come." Ever since our first Paleolithic ancestor found himself trapped inside a cave by one of his many savage enemies, the compulsion to escape has been inherent in man. Next to the love of life, the love of liberty is an atavistic motivation with more force than any other impulse in man's libido. Place a man in a cage or in chains, in a hole in the ground, or in a cab of a crushed car, and his first instinctive thought will invariably be, how can I get out? To escape prison or any form of bondage, men have scaled the absolute heights of human courage, fortitude, and ingenuity. Their instinct for self-preservation as free men has been so demanding that they would balk at nothing to obtain their ultimate goal. To cite a rather grisly example, here is a sketch of what a man named Scharschmidt suffered to gain his freedom. The window of Scharschmidt's cell was guarded by 2 oak beam cross pieces. The inner barrier was 7 by 7 inches, the outer 9 by 9 inches. Being fed only on black bread and water, Scharschmidt had nothing he could use as a tool except his teeth. He resolved to gnaw his way to freedom. In 3 months, the determined man had chewed through the inner wooden bars, carefully filling in the signs of his work each night with a putty made of the bread and water, and in 4 more months he chewed through the outer bars and escaped. It is said that his teeth were worn to mere bloody stumps, and his jaw muscles so developed from this remarkable feat of mastication that he looked like an ape. But every escape, no matter how clever in design, is subject to the element of chance. There's always something unforeseen, something unguessed, something unknown. Sometimes it works in favor of the escaper. More often it throws all his plans awry. The following is a good example of pure chance. A nobleman had been caught up in the French Revolution and condemned to the guillotine. His hands bound behind his neck, he was standing at the foot of the guillotine, waiting his turn to be beheaded. Something went wrong with the crank just as it was his turn to mount the fatal steps, and the executioner called for a carpenter. The crowd pressed in to watch the carpenter work on the guillotine. The nobleman leaned against the people with an air of resignation. Some of them unconsciously shifted aside, and he stepped back again. More of them automatically moved out of his way, and he slowly drifted through them until he found himself standing alone at the crowd's back. He strolled around a corner and bumped into a man. "Citizen," he said, "observe the absurd thing that has happened to me. Some rowdy friends of mine have tied my hands as a joke and have left me in this fix." The unsuspecting citizen laughed and promptly set him free. But whether it is a spur-of-the-moment evasion like the nobleman's, or a 7-month ordeal such as Scharschmidt experienced, Most exciting of all adventure stories is that of the escaping prisoner, the life or death chance taken by a lone fugitive against tremendous odds. This book is a compilation of some of the most amazing escapes ever recorded in history. In a few instances, the known facts regarding the exact details of certain phases of particular escapes are vague, and I've had to resort somewhat to literary invention to bridge the gaps. The stories are set in three periods, the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries. They are not, however, placed in exact chronological order. It is the purpose of this book to create a pattern of human endeavor, not to establish a strict adherence to dates, which has no bearing on the eternal spirit of escape. And now to Chapter 1.